Ordovik was a lupine creature from the planet of Lunatosh. His race is large canine creatures that have digitigrade legs, fur bodies, powerful builds, claws, and the head of a wolf. He was in a white lab coat observing the latest discovery, a seed of a plant that he germinated. The plant was just one of many, just a tiny sapling from a large collection of different species. Subject 495 appears to be a successful sapling, placing it in the West Observation Chamber, he said, as he lifted the pot and placed it in the indicated chamber. He stood in front of a window, looking in at it, as he watched it carefully. His assistant, Mayora, looked over his shoulder as she wrote down some notes. "Anything interesting about this one, sir?" she asked. Ordovik looked at his clipboard and read his notes. The data said it would make an edible fruit of some sort. He replied, "The seed was originally made for the alien race that lived there." "You haven't told me what race it was, sir," his assistant said. Ordovik continued to watch the plant carefully. "The race was once called humans, 45 cycles ago." Ordovik's ship entered the star system. He picked up a transmission from this system from an unidentified alien race. He was only investigating because he was using this as a shortcut around a solar storm. He traced it to this star system, but no new transmissions were being sent. Ordovik could also see no signs of a populated world in this system, so he went to the last known source of the signal, the third planet in this system, a frozen ice ball. As he got close to the planet, a fair amount of satellites were orbiting the planet. His sensors detected that they all seemed to be inoperable, dead in space. Scanning the planet, a large amount of radiation and particles were coming from the planet. He tried to scan for life, but the radiation was interfering with his scanners. What happened here? He wondered. The ship then passed through a field of satellites slowly as they bounced off the shields. He attempted several other scans while in orbit, but he was about to give up until he was over near one of the poles of the frozen world, where the radiation density was lower, and a slight energy signature was detected. It was the first anomaly he found, so maybe some life still existed. He flew his ship down below the frozen atmosphere, and upon breaking the cloud cover he saw the oceans of this world were filled with ice, but still had patches of water exposed. He descended toward the location of the energy signature. It seemed to be some sort of island. As he got closer, he entered a blizzard and was to use his geo-navigation sensors to see where he was going. How can anything be here? Ordovik wondered as he watched the 3D projection of the landscape as he glided the ship over the icy ground. Maybe that energy signature isn't from life. What if it's a beacon from another race? They would have notified all the races they're allied with. I doubt any other race has been here. While going through a ravine, the geo-navigation sensor began to pick up structures below. They were barely detectable with all the ice and snow covering them. The structures seemed to be ruins of some kind. The energy signature was close. Perhaps one of those satellites was a distress signal from this place, Ordovik thought. He flew his ship over to the source, which was near a frozen shoreline to the ocean. He landed his ship on a rocky cliff as the blizzard kicked up again. The signature was within the mountain and deep underground. The scanner indicated something large down there. Ordovik got suited up in a power environment exosuit, grabbed a scanning device, and headed to the airlock. The airlock hissed as it opened, and the wind and snow battered his suit. He would be fine. He marched through the snow, helmet lights on full. He approached several tall structures covered in ice. He walked through the ruins, looking at the alien architecture. He had his suit camera recording everything as he went. He saw that most of the buildings were long broken by age and the weather. He found a vehicle of some sort. It looked like a primitive spaceship. but with a quick scan, it lacked any components required for spaceflight. He took scans of it as he passed by and continued toward his goal. After a few minutes of walking, he was finally in front of a structure. Walking around it, he found frozen letters on the side. He attempted to translate it, but only got a rough translation. Svaard Gol SD Vaelt, or something like that. He went around a side to find the door frozen shut. He grabbed the doors, and with the power suit was able to rip them off their hinges. Inside was a hallway leading further into the mountain. As Ordovich entered the mountain, the blizzard was loud outside, but now he was in an enclosed space, and the wind was muffled by the walls as he went further down. Several more doors were in the way, covered in ice. However, it wasn't a problem to rip them open and enter each tunnel. Perhaps it is some sort of bunker, Ordovich thought, as he came to one of the side rooms. None of the radiation made it down here. So whatever is down here was made to last a nuclear winter, as it is surviving. He grabbed the door and ripped it off its hinges. Inside was a dark room. He stepped in, his helmet lights illuminating the room. Shelves upon shelves of storage containers filled the room. As he scanned them, they contained plant matter and seeds. He was confused. Why would they keep seeds underground during a nuclear winter? He wandered over to each container and scanned again. More seeds, but they all came from different plants. He was still confused about what their purpose would be. He left the room and continued down the hall to find more door after door, room after room, all containing thousands of plant material and seeds. What is the point of all of this? Ordovich wondered. As he finally made it to the end of the tunnel and found a large door, again covered in ice. He ripped the door off, and a set of ice-cover stairs led down, closer to the energy signature. He took a step as the stairs groaned from his weight. He took another step as the staircase collapsed beneath him. The suit recognized the rapid descent and activated the grav jets as he floated in the air. He watched as the staircase collapsed on itself down the shaft, and he descended in the air slowly to the bottom. At the bottom of the twisted remains another frozen door, and beyond it, the energy signature. Ordovich ripped open the door and walked into a large circular room. The energy signature seemed to be an old prototype reactor. It seems to be on its last legs as it barely put out any power. As his suit lights lit up the room, he walked over to a primitive computer console and began scanning it. It seems to be still operational somehow. He used an OmniJack to plug into the computer and scanned the files. He came across a journal entry, and with some translation, he was able to read it. 25th of March, 2072. Alexander Collins. I was right. This is going to be the end of everything. After years of a global nuclear war, we have doomed our species. It's funny, really. We thought it was going to be climate change, the lack of resources, or a virus to kill us all. Turns out man was his own downfall. If anyone is reading, know that we tried to help ourselves, but it wasn't enough. We attempted to leave our world, but we destroyed it. So let it be said that we could leave at least one thing good behind. Let this be our gift, if any life that exists outside our little solar system. Svalbard Global Seed Vault, a seed bank deep underground in an Arctic mountain to preserve all the seeds from our world. We lost nearly all of our food stores, and if any life was out there, so that we could give them something back and say that we did something good before the end. This facility has several copies of records in both digital and physical form on how to care for each specimen of plant life here, so that this world can someday bloom again even if we can't. Know that we had a beautiful world with lush jungles, vast forests, fields of grasslands, and an ocean full of life. If an alien race finds this, share what you find here. This will be my final entry. One of the last humans on a planet once called Earth. Ordovik was in awe of this discovery. Humans, he said under his breath. He looked around the empty room as the weak reactor was flickering. He looked again, and in the corner of the room were the mummified remains of a human. A truly interesting species. He took one last scan of the room and headed back up, flying to his ship. As he went back, he resealed the door to the seed bank with an arc welder and sent out a long-range communication. This is Ordovik of Lunatosh. I have a discovery for the Galactic Federation. Soon they had a full recovery team at the seed vault and were shipping all of the seeds off the world to his home planet. There were plans to grow the seeds and preserve as much data on the human species as possible. But as a bonus, Ordovik got a new job as a lead scientist on this project, and named it Svalbard, for the name of the location of the vault. Back to the present, he looked at the plant subject 495. Sir? His assistant called as Ordovik stared at the plant. Sir? Majora said again, Ordovik. Majora asked one last time. Yes, Majora. He replied, You spaced out there for a bit. What are we doing next? She asked. Now we wait for the plant to grow, Ordovik replied. He stepped away and headed back to the lab. Come, Majora, I need to look over the reports. Ordovik said as Majora followed. Yes, sir. She said she continued to take notes on her datapad. The lab was busy with drones watering hundreds of plants. Within independent environmental chambers, each one was a different subject. Upload the data for today and head home. We'll finish up here, Ordovik said. Are you sure, sir? Majora asked. Yes, I'll be fine. He replied, I'll see you tomorrow then, she said and left. Ordovik sighed as he sat down in a chair, looking out the large window to the hundreds of plants. He grabbed a mug and headed to make a drink that was made from one of the plants, Subject 43. They called it in the files coffee beans. It had a lot of subspecies of the seeds, so they named them all numbering the different combinations. It was one of the first plants his race could consume. He sort of laughed at the idea that it was not eaten, but made into a drink. It was slightly bitter, but the research showed it helps increase focus. The black liquid poured out of a small machine and into his mug. He sat back down, took a sip, and sighed. He grabbed his datapad to read another project, Rebirth, the plans to grow a human in a cloning pod. It was a start for the revival of the human race. He sat the datapad back down as he sipped his coffee. What wonders you would have seen, Ordovik said to himself as he gazed upon all of the plants.